Chicago, Chicago, I'll show you around. Bet your bottom dollar you lose the blues in Chicago, Chicago, the town that Billy shut down. You want Harold? Well, here's Harold.
He was the living, breathing embodiment of a grassroots movement in Chicago.
How many are going to vote for me? TV, it says, trust me.
Harold Washington became Chicago's first black mayor in 1983.
Candidate for mayor, Bernard Efton.
After a campaign marked by bitter racial tensions.
Efton for mayor before it's too late.
Washington won, but his first term was blocked at virtually every turn by a block of white aldermen known as the Verdoliak 29.
In America, 29 votes is more than 21 votes, and that's the truth.
Still, Washington governed with an infectious joy.
Yeah, man! Number one.
Vowed to be mayor for 20 years.
Nothing hurts and everything works.
After more than 40 years of doing news, people ask me, what's the biggest story in Chicago you ever covered? For me, the answer is simple.
And it's my sad responsibility to let you know that Mayor Washington was pronounced dead this afternoon at 1:36.
It was the week that Harold died.
Wherever you go, if you say you're from Chicago, you know what they say? How's Harold?
Harold Washington was really just coming into his own. He had been re-elected to a second term, had achieved a level of parity with the city council. Things were finally going his way.
One. Oh, two. We know what to do. There we go.
After this groundbreaking with Alderman Timothy Evans, early on the day before Thanksgiving, 1987, Mayor Washington headed back to City Hall.
He slumped to one side. I thought he was trying to pick something up off the floor, like a pen that he might have dropped. And I quickly realized that it was more serious than that.
You know, working for him was working for a cause. And that was that way from the day, from the time that he was elected. It was much more than just a job in politics.
Peter, what can you tell us?
I just got off the phone with some people, high-ranking sources from the fire department. They told me that an announcement is being prepared within the next half hour.
We could not get any signs of neurologic recovery nor spontaneous cardiac activity.
Word has just come that the mayor has passed.
You didn't have time to grieve.
Oh, no, the thing is I didn't have time to grieve, but I was working and crying at the same time.
Jackie Grimshaw was a Washington aide and architect of his campaign.
It was grieving, but it was also with a sense of purpose, that this was Harold, that we had to plan a funeral that was praiseworthy of Harold. But Phil, at the same time we were doing this, we had this little cabal of aldermen that were plotting who was going to be the mayor.
Those who yearned to be mayor included a number of aldermen: Eugene Sawyer, Timothy Evans, Danny Davis, Richard Mell, and Lawrence Bloom.
I don't feel any pressure to move swiftly. I think that people understand that this is a troubled time for his family.
All right, Judge, you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Today, Timothy Evans is the chief judge of the Cook County Circuit Court. In 1977, he was the Chicago alderman considered by many as the community's choice, even Harold Washington's choice, to succeed him as mayor.
I thought that at the very least, we would have time to bury Harold and mourn his passing and give him the kind of respect that he had earned.
Alderman David Orr was named interim mayor but made clear he didn't want the job on a permanent basis.
Don't you dare insult my integrity.
But this being Chicago, the politicking by others started almost immediately. How soon did the jockeying for his job begin?
There were at least 3 factions already emerging within, like I say, literally within minutes of when he was struck down.
But wait. It's important that we note that all of this was happening against a backdrop of absolutely overwhelming grief in Chicago.
That week for me was so painful that I was not doing political calculations. I was not doing political strategy. I was trying to say goodbye.
These are the faces of the people of the city of Chicago who came here by the thousands because this was something they had to see with their own eyes, something they had to hear with their own ears.
He was a very good man, and he was for everyone, the poor people, everyone.
It has been said that Chicago is a divided city, but here this evening it was a unified city.
He taught me that friendship has no color.
And perhaps the most sincere form of remembrance, the hundreds of thousands of Chicagoans who began to pay their respects to the late mayor as his body lay in the rotunda of City Hall. The river of humanity at times stretched 4 or 5 blocks. The river of tears seemed to never stop.
Against that backdrop, wheels of succession were turning. Black aldermen met with Jesse Jackson as he returned from the Mideast.
I'm delighted that the leaders met me at the airport today, showing a measure of trust in me, respect for my leadership.
But as the weekend came, other meetings were held in aldermanic homes and at least one aldermanic office. You know that term, smoke-filled rooms?
The meeting was an apparent violation of the Open Meetings Act, since reporters were not allowed in.
I don't think that the people of Chicago should have their next mayor picked at O'Hare Field.
That same day here at Operation Push, members of the Washington faction attempted a show of unity.
And we must hang together, or we'll hang separately.
But it was clear at that meeting that Tim Evans was emerging as a clear favorite of the Washington faithful.
I will never forget him, and no death can separate us from his triumph. I know that.
I had been very, very close to him, and I thought that maybe somehow I might be able to at least carry on the programs that I had been working on with him.
Harold Washington left City Hall for the last time early on the morning of November 30th, but only after hundreds of thousands of people had stood in line for endless hours.
Thank you very much. I'll see you in the morning, buddy. We will not let you down.
The funeral procession left Christ Universal Temple for Oak Woods Cemetery. But along the way, thousands of people lined the roads for one last wave.
And that night there was another event, a noisy rally at the UIC Pavilion. One part memorial service, one part call to arms.
We have a right to go tomorrow to City Hall to surround City Hall because it is ours.
So that brings our story back here to City Hall, December 1st, 1987. It was an incredible night. The crowd which turned out for Tim Evans that night was astounding. Thousands hoping to carry him across the finish line as Washington's certain successor.
There were literally 5,000 people streaming from just in front of the City Council chamber doors, down one floor to the lobby of City Hall, out the door on the LaSalle Street side, and filling LaSalle Street.
Reporter Bill Cameron covered City Hall in 1987, as he still does today.
I mean, there were like 5,000 people there.
I was amazed that they would be out there shouting my name and thinking that I could do it. I certainly was humbled by it. What I had done during Harold's time was to be right there with him.
So, by community standards, Evans appeared to be the choice. You saw the crowd.
I saw the crowd. Saw it from my office window. I thought that this was a love of Harold being demonstrated, and a love of Harold's legacy, and support for the person they thought could continue that legacy.
But of course, the public didn't vote. The city council did. The remnants of the old Verdoliak faction realized they didn't have the votes to install one of their block as mayor.
And so they decided then that we better fall back and choose one of our own among the black aldermen, and they settled on Gene Sawyer.
Later that night, those aldermen met here, just outside the council chamber in room 201A. I was standing right here when that door burst open. Sawyer was escorted to the chamber, assured that he now had the votes.
They saw themselves being in charge and having a puppet sitting in the mayor's office.
What is the community going to think if you become mayor by getting the votes of the people who 6 days ago were against Harold? How are you going to convince them that you're going to carry on Harold's program with these people?
My dad was a trusted advisor to Harold.
Eugene Sawyer's son, Roderick Sawyer, now the 6th Ward alderman, says his father prided himself on an ability to work with both camps.
All that my dad wanted to do was serve out Harold's term. That's it. He felt that he could step up to the challenge and do the job. He did not want to anger the black community and make it seem like there was something going on that really wasn't.
As it turned out, his concerns in that regard may have been well-founded. Sawyer was accused by many in the black community as having sold out.
He was not going to fight back. You know, he was going to go along with the crowd.
Roderick Sawyer insists that wasn't true.
My dad was able to rally both parties, both sides, to come to some conclusions because, quite honestly, they liked him.
Whatever the case, it was a crazy night, and the meeting went on for hours.
I'm not tired. I'm older than most of you.
But finally, at 4 a.m., the die was cast. Eugene Sawyer was Chicago's new mayor.
I promised you that I will continue the programs and policies of our late mayor.
But Sawyer would serve for only 15 months, defeated in the Democratic primary by Richard Daley, who served for the next 22 years. To this day, there is disagreement over that fateful night.
It upset the community tremendously, and I don't think our community is completely over it yet.
He took the heat to save the seat. He wanted to save that seat for black people. But black people were the ones that kind of turned on him, to be honest with you.
One extraordinary week in Chicago. Harold Washington had been mayor for just over 4 years, but his life and his death left lasting imprints on Chicago.
In fact, we had a lot to be thankful for, more than we knew at the time. He, in so many ways, he showed the city of Chicago what was possible.
This immense library serves as Harold Washington's permanent memorial in the city. But you know, for those of us who were here for his time in office, sometimes it seems you can still hear him singing about the city that he loved.
On State Street, that great street, I just want to say, they don't do on Broadway. Hey, they had the time of their life. I saw him and he danced with his wife in Chicago, my home.